Welcome to the Whitespring Bunker. These halls were built to safeguard some of the most prestigious members of the United States government. Now we are all that remains, though we are always looking for men and women capable of helping us restore what has been lost. In return, we offer this, our refuge from the world above. Please, take your time and look around. We've made great efforts to restore this place to its former glory. Welcome, member, to our little enclave.
Welcome back, members. As always, I am the Operative, your designated tour guide and host here at the Whitespring. It's been a bit of a quiet time here at the bunker. The Colonel is heading north with Team Alpha to introduce themselves to the new settlement at the Morgantown airport, while Major Lilith is still on her way back from a classified mission to Berkeley Springs. As such, Captain Stein recommended that I take you all on a tour of our little enclave, and relate how things have changed since we arrived here from Vault 76. So join us as we take a little stroll, and learn more about our cast of characters, the bunker, and the resort that we call home.
Long gone are the days where people sing about West Virginia as almost heaven. After nuclear war and disease, it's far from heaven now. Far from Heaven, a Fallout 76 story podcast, is a tale of survival, conflict, and hope set in the Fallout 76 game world. Join our survivors on their journey to reach that almost heaven once more. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and many other great podcasting apps. Far from Heaven, a Fallout 76 story, available now.
Greetings, members, and welcome to the briefing and tour today. With both the Colonel and the Major being absent on assignment, Captain Stein thought it would be a good opportunity to take our new members on a little tour, plus relate some of the history of the Whitespring Bunker, the Enclave, and our mission here. Refreshments will be served after the tour in the commissary, so I hope you've all come with an appetite. I've been told that the Protectron chefs are cooking up something special, programmed by the captain himself, although I'm not entirely sure what it is exactly. So let's get started, shall we? The Whitespring Bunker was built before the war as part of the continuity of government plan should some disaster befall the country. Of course, the Great War certainly qualified in this regard. Also known as the Congressional Bunker, this facility was designed to supplement the other COG locations across the country. MODUS was installed here to serve as the heart of the operations and could run the entire bunker autonomously if needed, and had access to surveillance systems across the region, and even the Kovac Muldoon satellite, currently in geosynchronous orbit above Appalachia. Soon after the war, the outside connections between the bunker and the other Enclave facilities were lost. To this day, we have been unable to determine when or exactly how this happened. While I won't go into all the details of what happened during the tenure of the previous residents, suffice to say that we are all having to deal with the results of what the Colonel describes as incorrect decisions, as we ourselves step into their shoes. The incident, which occurred in 2086, resulted in the death of all the former bunker residents, with the exception of Captain Stein, of course, and severe damage to the bunker and MODUS. By the time we arrived, MODUS had been able to repair most of the internal damage, but it wasn't until the Colonel completed a number of assignments that we, and by we, I mean MODUS, regained access to the Kovac and the regional surveillance system once housed at the DIA facility at Sugar Grove. Since then, as more former residents of Vault 76 have joined our little enclave, our use of the bunker has grown, new areas have been opened, and we've just started to expand into the resort above. Well, that's enough of a history lesson. If no one has any questions, let's make our way down to the residential wing. Please stick together, members. Now, the bunker was originally built to house a little over 200 people, and we are beginning to get close to that capacity at this point. That is one of the primary reasons the Colonel and MODUS have made securing the resort one of our top priorities. Some of you may also be lucky enough to move topside in the coming weeks, although personally, I'm pretty happy with the accommodations down here. There are 3 levels to the residential wing, The top level is reserved for officers, including the colonel. And yes, before you ask, the major does have a suite here as well. However, the amount of Abraxo required to keep it clean is excessive. The two lower levels, of course, house the rest of us at this moment, along with two new barracks areas recently opened to provide space for our new recruits, per Captain Stein's request. As you all may have noticed, the residential wing is very similar to our former accommodations in Vault 76, which is no wonder, given that Vault-Tec constructed both facilities. There are currently no children in the bunker, but you may have noticed the small, but growing community topside. It was with great reluctance that the Colonel allowed families onto the resort grounds last month, but we cannot turn away fellow Vault 76ers. I suspect part of the Colonel's reasoning for clearing the resort was to provide additional space for growth. We'll pay our friends a visit later in the tour. Okay, from here, let's go on to the recreational area and gymnasium.
Member.
Now, I believe most of you are very familiar with the gym. I'm looking at you, Corporal Jones. And as you may be aware, the captain has a facility reserved for training from 0600 to 1000 each day, and no spectators are allowed. Outside of those times, all members are encouraged to spend at least 2 hours in the gym, utilizing any of the Vault-Tec provided exercise equipment. Yes, I know those bikes are not well liked amongst the staff. And no, we can assure you that no settings were changed, and rumors of electrical shocks suffered when a rider fails to achieve maximum efficiency are not true, we think. Locker rooms and showers are located in the back, with all water being thoroughly purified using the latest filtration technology. I know many of you are disappointed that there is no in-bunker swimming pool. However, I've been told that one of the pools upstairs may be ready for our use in the next few months. And I will also remind all of you, when in the gym, if you are approached by Major Lilith to participate in a friendly sparring match, the answer should be a firm no. Private Johnson learned this lesson the hard way, and I believe he's still in physical therapy as we speak. Alright then, let's move on to the medical wing. Unfortunately, members, we won't have the opportunity to speak with Dr. Harefield today. She's currently dealing with several operatives in quarantine who are suffering from what the staff is calling the whoopsies. When we first arrived, the medical facilities were somewhat limited to a single infirmary. It wasn't until Dr. Harefield was put in charge that we not only opened the new quarantine section, but MODUS was able to construct a small operating theater as well. Soon after Captain Stein was found in the damaged area of the medical wing, the good doctor was able to double the size of the infirmary as well. While not a fully functioning hospital, we now have the ability to handle everything up to severe trauma cases, something we, unfortunately, see quite regularly now that the teams are spending more time in the field. We also have 2 functioning symptomatics, which are personally my favorites when it comes to simple procedures and disease cures. I've heard rumors that we might even be moving one of them into the resort, but that hasn't been confirmed. Members are, of course, required to submit to monthly checkups and receive their standard rations of Radaway and Radex, and double if they're on field work. The doctor tends to be the happiest when the major is out in the field. Incidents tend to be minimal, although she does reserve extra bed space when the major returns. With that, let's walk over to the science wing.
Member.
Now members, as we take the tour through the lab, please remember not to touch anything. Now the post-war Enclave here made great scientific strides, including the mutation serums which some of our members currently utilize for specific assignments. It's unfortunate that so much of the other research was lost after the incident. Oh, there's Dr. Stevenson. Hello, Doctor. Doctor? Okay, looks like he's in the middle of some kind of experiment. That's fine. We can see if he's available to chat later. I know many of us remember the doctor from 76. He used to run the hydroponics section. But even better for us, he was a pre-war Nobel Prize-nominated particle physicist. His work with high-energy weapons was put to great use with the war in China. Or so I've been told. For now, the Colonel has the doctor and his small research staff working on the next generation of plasma weaponry. Unfortunately, we've discovered that many of the energy weapons left over here in the bunker are underpowered compared to what our adversaries are armed with, especially the super mutants and the miniguns they seem to have acquired over time. I've heard the Colonel is planning on moving the research and development functions from here to a secondary facility as part of our expansion plans. Much of the original science wing was damaged or even destroyed, and MODUS believes that there may be some lingering contamination as well, limiting his and our ability to rebuild here. So our current focus is to improve the firepower of our weapons, to deal with this new threat level, and also come up with strategies to deal with the Scorched and Scorched Beasts on a larger scale. With the return of the DIA Research Archive database from Sugar Grove, we expect to have access to new and more advanced designs, although it may take some time for MODUS to decrypt the files and get them into production for us. As always, volunteers for testing are always required, and if you're interested in participating, please contact your direct superior. From here, we can head over to the Communications Center. And here we can begin to see the heart of the new Enclave operations in Appalachia. Before the war, this center was designed to monitor the entire region and interact with other facilities across the world. Automated listening devices could be used to listen in on the population, as well as identify potential threats to the security of the United States. Today, we can still monitor communications and identify threats, although in a much more limited capacity. Outside of our fellow Vault 76ers, who are spread across Appalachia, however, the monsters don't use radio communications. The staff have found a variety of old automated systems which are still functional in various areas, and in some cases they've provided vital information on what occurred here after the war, and the Colonel has assigned teams to track them down. As an interesting note, this bunker utilizes a masking technology, which hides our electronic signature from prying eyes. Of course, this was far more helpful before the war. It's doubtful there's anyone left in China to try to spy on us. But perhaps it's also helpful against the Scorched? Who knows. But I, for one, am still happy it's functional. This is also where we stay in contact with all of our field teams. Normally, we would expect reports 4 times a day, unless noted in the patrol schedule. MODUS also analyzes all incoming communications, routing them to the appropriate staff on the floor, or in some cases directly to command, should it be required. Now, if there are no questions, we'll go to the military wing and visit operations. Yes, Sergeant. They are all cleared. Please, this was set up by the captain. If you have a problem, you really should speak to him. But we're on a tight schedule here. I need to get these members back to their assignments soon. I'm sorry. Some members are such stickler for the rules. And yes, most of the operations staff is currently working on Beowulf, so we'll need to be quick. First, this is the main operations floor. The Colonel has broken up the teams by region: Forest, Toxic Valley, Ash Heap, Savage Divide, the Mire, and of course the Cranberry Bog. Each region has one or more teams assigned to it at any given time, conducting recon, retrieval, investigation, or elimination assignments. MODUS is able to provide real-time intelligence via the Kovac, and weekly assignments are posted to the team captains every Saturday. Special assignments are signed off on by the Colonel, and those are handled upstairs. Over here, we have the entrance to our brig. Right now, I believe Private Sullivan is cooling his heels after yet another altercation after Wednesday night's poker game. I swear that man never learns. Interrogations are under the auspices of Dr. Harker. While some might find the thought of questioning fellow Vault 76ers unappealing, you must remember that not all of us stay on the straight and narrow after leaving the vault. Now upstairs, we have the main command center. It's here that the Colonel meets with senior staff and commands the new Enclave. Her office is located down the hall. Sorry, we won't be going there as it's strictly off limits while the Colonel is out in the field. Also, we can monitor the region's nuclear silos from here. And no, we don't have access to the silos at the moment. Due to the irresponsible actions of the Overseer, several Vault members were able to gain access. If we can have a moment of silence for those poor, unfortunate settlers who were caught in the blast radius. After that incident, the Colonel dedicated Team India and Team Romeo to secure the silo entrances, and we've been tracking the Strategic Air Command Vertibot convoys to prevent any other errant nuke launches. I have been told that as part of Operation Beowulf, our access to one of the silos will be necessary, but I haven't heard the full brief yet, although the Colonel has put out a call for volunteers. Speaking of Beowulf, Sergeant Muller is currently working with MODUS on upgraded power armor designs, hence why the military production floor is currently closed. I know several of you have already volunteered for power armor training. However, given the limited number of suits available, the Colonel is handpicking applicants in consultation with the Sergeant. Also, don't expect to see new Enclave members traipsing all around Appalachia in advanced power armor. The Colonel has made it abundantly clear that we are to keep a low profile unless absolutely necessary. And Corporal Mack, you should have known better. You're lucky the Sergeant likes you. trying to impress Nurse Jacobs with bench-pressing a Brahmin in a suit of XO1. Very not appropriate. And no, I don't care if she agreed to go on a date with you afterwards. Okay, my apologies. Let's continue the tour, shall we? Welcome, members, to the production floor. This is an area that we're all very familiar with. We're very lucky to have one of the last, and possibly the only intact production facility here in Appalachia. MODUS has the capabilities to produce everything from weapons and armor to ammunition and other supplies, only limited by the amount of raw materials we are able to provide. This last bit, however, is our one true limitation. Because of the general state of the country, we just can't submit paperwork to the Pentagon and have resources trucked in from wherever, whenever we want. This means that rationing and prioritization is going to be the key to our success. And that's where Captain Reynolds comes in. I'm sure y'all remember him from Vault 76. As a head of logistics, he will be submitting your request for weapons, munitions, and supplies to his team. Now, I know there are some rumors floating around regarding the captain, but orders are not to discuss rumors. Here on the production floor, you'll find just about everything you might need for field operations. We have our power armor frames along the back wall, where you'll typically find Sergeant Muller working on his armor, weapon and armor benches, and prep areas for outgoing teams. Since we're here, let's head out of the rear entrance and make our way to the resort. To be on the safe side, please check your sidearms. Despite our successes to date, the grounds are not completely clear of ghouls, mole rats, and whatnot. Fresh air. Well, as fresh as it gets in Appalachia. I will say that the guard numbers to handies do keep the lawn around here very well manicured, and the gardens in full bloom. Please stick together, though. While MODUS does have a handle on the bots here now, there are still a few defensive subroutines which could kick in if you're not careful. Everybody remembers the infamous 13th hole incident, correct? Overall, the resort must still look very much like it did before the war. Minus the people, of course. Though the Colonel does hope to change that. Private, please mind the flowers. Thank you. Around the corner there, you'll see the pathway to the Astros Garden. It's become the final resting place for the honored members of the new Enclave. It's also where the Colonel laid her own parents to rest. If you haven't already paid your respects, I would recommend doing so. Down here, we have the main entrance to the hotel. Don't get too close to those sentry bots. Of all the hotel security staff, they've been the most twitchy. Single file, members. Just let them pass. Alright, let's head inside.
Protect and serve. Protect and serve.
If this is your first time in the hotel, then welcome. A former retreat for the wealthy and politically well-connected, it certainly made sense for the government to build a bunker underneath this facility. A testament to American ingenuity, most of the robot staff is still fully functional, if a bit eccentric. Also, due to union rules, which for some reason MODUS can't override, bots will not carry your luggage. Ever. Downstairs, the shops are still fully operational. Fair warning, however, their stock is low. Be prepared to pay in caps. Don't ask. I've yet to figure out this whole caps thing, and I know the Colonel just threw up her hands and said go with it. The hotel restaurant is open. Beware, the chefs decided, sometime after the war, to go ahead with their original menu, but they've been substituting whatever they find on the grounds. Last we checked, it was all edible, and pretty sure none of it is people. Oh, come on, that's a joke. Maybe. The bar is also open. However, due to the mannequin incident, access to alcohol stocks is limited to authorized personnel only. You'll notice a few bunker protectrons around. They've been assigned to renovate one of the wings for our use. As mentioned earlier on our tour, you may have the option to move up here in the near future. Expect an update from the Colonel when she returns from Morgantown. And before we leave, let's go up one flight. And now from this vantage, you can see the cottages and the golf course. The golf club itself is still undergoing repairs after Team Delta cleared out that ghoul infestation. And over there, past the club, is what we've referred to as Refugee Row. However, the Colonel isn't happy with that name and would prefer that we come up with something else. Captain Stein has some suggestions, but nothing's been decided yet. About 2 months ago, a semi-large number of former Vault 76ers approached the main gate. They had attempted to settle in Somerville, but they'd been driven out by those super mutants. I won't pretend that this was an easy decision by the Colonel. The group consisted mostly of women and children. After a bit of negotiation, the Colonel agreed to allow the group to set up a camp in an unused portion of the golf course. Due to the belligerence of the resort bots, and this was before MODUS was able to connect himself to the hotel mainframe, we moved the group into that row of cottages. Surprisingly, they've done pretty well for themselves, and are even making strides towards self-sufficiency. And as you well know, the Colonel isn't very kid-friendly, so Captain Stein and Dr. Harefield have been handling our relationship with them. Truth be told, I think it's a good thing. I know seeing kids running around and playing, having good clean fun, helps us remember what we're fighting for. Okay, members, that's the tour. We're going to head back to the bunker for lunch. Oh, but there is one last thing I wanted to show you. If you'd like to follow me... Yes, I know, and no, I'm not lost. See this panel right here? Now watch this. Welcome to the super secret entrance to the Whitespring Bunker. This was obviously used by high-ranking members of the Enclave to travel back and forth without being noticed. However, this is a biometrically coded door, so don't expect that you're going to be able to slip away yourselves, and if I don't catch you doing it, MODUS certainly will. Is that understood, people? Alright, here we are. As you can see, the chefs have already laid out refreshments for us. If I'm correct, I see Brahmin burgers, Deathclaw steaks, and various sides including the Captain's Own Tato Salad, and Nuka-Cola for everyone. Please enjoy. We have until the top of the hour, then you're all back to your duty assignments. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Otherwise, God bless the Enclave, God bless America, and eat up!
Hi, I'm Fire Rider, and I'm the host of The Pixel People, a podcast dedicated to taking a close look at our favorite characters from our favorite video games. From major characters who define the course of a game's storyline to smaller characters who you might have never noticed. Every week, we go beyond the quest line to examine a particular character's story arc and choices, and discover the real-world parallels and life lessons hidden just below the surface. I hope you'll join us. You can find the Pixel People on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else you listen to podcasts.
Thank you again, members, for joining us here on the MODUS Files. We hope that you've enjoyed this bonus content, and we look forward to providing additional background episodes in the future to supplement our main storyline. We'd also like to recognize all of our supporters on Twitter and Discord. Without their contributions and support, none of this would be possible. And if you've enjoyed this content, please subscribe, and better yet, please leave a review to help others find our little enclave. As always, I'd like to recognize Brad Williams for his wonderful voice work as MODUS, along with the rest of our core cast, Mandy Marie B., Lucy Middleton, XO1 King, Aaron McNamara, Aaron Foster, Austin Rogers, and Maria Cheshire, not to mention the numerous community members who have provided additional voices for our miniseries episodes and minor characters. We'd also like to thank the Mr. Jones Show for providing our podcast cover art. You can find him on Twitter at @BlankenMedia. And a shout out to the Apocalyptic Aristocracy Discord, home to a great group of fellow creators, the Robots Radio podcast community and the rest of the Robots Radio Rocket Club, and Jeremiah Johnson, our favorite character artist who provided the wonderful character artwork you can find on our website. Lastly, thank you to all of our subscribers and supporters. God bless the Enclave, and God bless America.
Members, we look forward to your next visit to our little enclave.